Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Thursday, August 20th, and we have your top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. I hope everyone has been having a great morning so far. Thank you for choosing to be here to get caught up to speed on everything that's impacting you in Northeast Ohio. First up, we have breaking national news. Former advisor to President Donald Trump has been arrested in connection with a fraud case related to the We Build the Wall fundraising campaign. We'll tell you all the details, what we know about that so far after he was just arrested. We're finding out today. Also, Akron workers from the Goodyear company held a rally this morning after President Donald Trump called for the boycott of Goodyear. We'll tell you what's happening there, as well as what Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden had to say about the comments, and of course, more comments that President Donald Trump made yesterday after everything broke and the conversation started at the national level. Then we'll talk about some big moments from night 3 of the Democratic National Convention, as tonight will be the final night of the DNC, where Joe Biden is expected to formally accept the presidential nomination from the Democratic Party. Then we'll take a look at something that seems to be gaining popularity, something called pods, as an alternative to individual at-home schooling, while many schools are still doing the remote learning thing in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. And a pen pal program that is taking off here in Beachwood, Ohio, after it had success in the state of Virginia. First up, we are now learning that former Trump advisor Steve Bannon has been arrested for defrauding in connection to the We Build the Wall campaign. Authorities say that Steve Bannon, Brian Kolfage, and 2 others took hundreds of thousands of dollars in donor funds from the We Build the Wall campaign. This is according to an indictment that was unsealed in Manhattan federal court. The We Build the Wall campaign raised more than $25 million to build a wall along the southern border of the United States. This was an online crowdfunding campaign that got popularity right around the time when President Donald Trump was trying to get it passed through Congress to fund a border wall. So according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, Kolfage, who is a Purple Heart veteran and a triple amputee, repeatedly and falsely, according to authorities, assured the public that he would not take a penny in salary or compensation, and that 100% of those millions of dollars that was raised will be used in the execution of the mission and purpose, which was to fund a border wall along the southern border of the U.S. Well, according to authorities, instead, Kolfage and Bannon are accused of faking invoices and vendor arrangements, among other things, to hide what was really happening. Authorities say that Kolfage and Bannon instead used hundreds of thousands of dollars to fund lavish lifestyles. Part of that includes a boat, which was named the Warfighter and can be seen on Kolfage's Instagram page, and was used to sail in a July 4th Trump boat parade in Destin, Florida. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service was instrumental in getting to the bottom of these allegations against Bannon, Kolfage, and 2 others. Now, as a reminder, Bannon used to be the leader of the conservative Breitbart News organization, and then in 2016, he was tapped to lead President Donald Trump's then presidential campaign in its final months at the end of the 2016 presidential race run. And then, after Trump was elected, he was put in a top White House strategy post, but he was then pushed out in August of 2017. So he was taken into custody today by U.S. postal agents. We have more for you on that on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Here in Northeast Ohio, Akron workers held a rally this morning after President Donald Trump's call for the boycott of Goodyear. That rally started at 11 a.m. today, and that included workers from United Steelworkers Local 2, and that was hosted at their headquarters on Kelly Avenue beginning at 11 a.m. U.S. Representative for Ohio Tim Ryan was expected to be in attendance, as well as Ohio House Minority Leader Amelia Sykes and State Representative Tavia Galansky. These are all Democrats. Now, to remind you of how this all started, yesterday on Wednesday morning, President Donald Trump tweeted, "Don't buy Goodyear tires." They announced a ban on MAGA hats. This was after an image made the rounds on social media from an employee of Goodyear based out of Topeka, Kansas. According to local news, that employee told them that this was a slide from a training. Now, Goodyear later said that this slide was not a corporate-produced slide and was not part of a diversity training, but they did say it is their policy that they would discourage employees from engaging in political speech at work. That includes wearing clothes and also saying things, but that they do allow social justice messaging. Well, Trump doubled down on his comments yesterday, even after Goodyear made that statement. He said that he's not happy with Goodyear. What he said was, "What they're doing is playing politics. The people who work for Goodyear, I can tell you that I pull very well with them." He also continued to say that he would not recommend shopping at Goodyear again and that he'd be willing to swap out the Goodyear tires on the presidential limousine. Many Ohio officials had a message for Trump yesterday after saying that, and their message was, "Don't mess with Akron." Yesterday, Tim Ryan, who was expected to be at the rally today, said, "This shows the problem that President Donald Trump has, that it's more about him than it is about other people. He's directly saying he wants to put you out of a job." Of course, he was tweeting to the employees of the Akron Goodyear plant. And then he said, "Never thought I would see a president rooting against a great American company, much less in the middle of an economic recession." Now, there are those who did support President Donald Trump. Senator Rob Portman for Ohio said yesterday, "I believe private companies are free to set their own guidelines, but I would hope they would do it fairly and objectively with respect for free speech." Other Ohio officials had much more pointed comments, and we do have those on WKYC.com and the WKYC app. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden responded as well. Here's what he had to say. He said, "President Trump doesn't have a clue about the dignity and worth that comes with good-paying union jobs at places like Goodyear, jobs that can support a family and sustain a community." Biden went on to say, "Goodyear employs thousands of American workers, including in Ohio, where it is headquartered. Those workers and their jobs aren't a source of pride, just collateral damage and yet another one of his political attacks." That's what Biden had to say about President Donald Trump's comments. Speaking of Joe Biden, yesterday was night 3 for the Democratic National Convention, and the overwhelming message of the night was get out and vote. The party also reaffirmed its commitment to progressive values on issues like gun violence and climate change. Former President Barack Obama was the second to last speaker, speaking just before vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Obama made some of his most pointed comments about President Donald Trump, saying that he treats the presidency like a reality TV show, using it as fuel for a way to get the attention that he needs. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi accused President Donald Trump of disrespect for facts, for working families, and for women in particular, something she says that she has personally experienced at the hands of the president. And then she repeatedly blamed Trump and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell for standing in the way of LGBTQ protections, gun violence measures, and coronavirus relief, which, of course, that second stimulus package is something that Congress has not yet been able to agree on and sits stalled while the Senate, at least, is on summer recess. Now, Pelosi has called the House back from summer recess related to issues with the Postal Service. President Donald Trump has not responded directly to any of these statements as of early this afternoon. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton also spoke during night 3 at the Democratic National Convention, and her message, too, was get out the vote, serving sort of as a cautionary tale and reminding people that, yes, it's possible to win the popular vote by 3 million votes, as she did, and still lose the election because of the way the Electoral College is set up. Senator Elizabeth Warren also spoke. She had a focus on childcare, calling it the infrastructure for the American family, speaking from a closed childcare facility and talking about how Biden does have a plan in order to make that feasible and affordable for Americans, which is definitely something that people are thinking about right now, as many people are home with children who are doing remote learning and also trying to work from home, as we're all trying to figure out how to live with the COVID-19 pandemic, something that we haven't experienced in our lifetimes. And then Senator Kamala Harris closed out the evening accepting the nomination for the vice presidential candidacy on the Democratic ticket, really introducing herself to the national stage for the first time. She talked about her mother and her father, who are immigrants from India and Jamaica, respectively, and her upbringing in the 1960s. She said this, she said, "In the streets of Oakland and Berkeley, I got a stroller's eye view of people getting into what the great John Lewis called good trouble," as she talked about being at civil rights marches with her parents as a small child. She also talked about the impact of inequities in the country and how those impact healthcare, education, opportunity, and the fight to combat racial injustice. Senator Harris said, "There is no vaccine for racism. We've got to do the work for George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, for the lives of too many others to name, for our children, for all of us." And then, of course, she reaffirmed the overwhelming message of the night to have a voting plan to overcome the obstacles of COVID-19 and also Postal Service slowdowns related to changes that were put into place by Postmaster Louis DeJoy, which he has said will now be stalled until after the election. So tonight is the final night of the Democratic National Convention, and at the end of the evening tonight, former Vice President Joe Biden will formally accept the nomination from the Democratic Party. That'll be streaming tonight from 9 to 11 p.m. on WKYC.com. Now, speaking to childcare and children at home and virtual learning, again, something that's gaining popularity right now are these school pods, is what they're being called. And these are small group learning experiences. These are groups of neighbors and friends who are coming together to sort of build their own learning communities with the help of professionals. Our 3 News' Maureen Kyle reported on this morning. She talked with a mom in the Northeast Ohio area who was running an in-home daycare and has now changed that into a small group learning pod. Some of the things that were talked about were how parents are finding it difficult to teach their own children, and also issues with being at work and schooling children at home. A website that was brought up is care.com. Now, this is a website that helps connect these groups or individuals with tutors, teachers, and nannies. And the way it works is it's kind of like a Craigslist for these particular professions. People post their availability, what it is that they're hoping for in compensation, and then you can actually work it out amongst yourselves. Now, it was reported this morning that nannies on this site can average about $15 an hour, and that can become more affordable if you have a group of people who are able to go in on this. Now, not exactly sure what it would cost for a tutor or a teacher, but that is something to check out if you're in a position where that might be something that works for you. And another option for these pods, it's parents at home who are doing these virtual learning sessions with their students, with their children, and making sure this works. It's possible that people could create their own pods and share those responsibilities with family and neighbors and keeping that in a close-knit community, perhaps without having to hire a professional. Maybe it's a pod that you can create on your own just to administer the virtual learning that you would otherwise be doing completely on your own. Something to think about. We have more details on that on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app. And to end things on the right note here, we want to tell you about a program here in Northeast Ohio that's helping people overcome loneliness and isolation. It's a pen pal program at a Beachwood assisted living facility. Now, this started in Virginia at a Victorian senior care facility, and it got a lot of traction. In just over a month, this pen pal program in Virginia got more than 150,000 letters from pen pals all over the world. So now people are giving it a shot here in Northeast Ohio. Montefiore, which is now partnered with Menorah Park in Beachwood, is giving it a shot, and they have some great pen pals if you're interested. If you're also in a situation where you would like to send a little bit of love and light out into the world, you can do that. Here's just a couple of the people who are interested in having a pen pal from this location in Beachwood. There's Jake Rocks, who is 75. Jake loves jazz and will serenade you if you catch him in the right moment. So maybe you can take that pen pal relationship to a virtual relationship at some point. Get yourself a little jazz serenade. Then there's Diane Grod, who is 85, and she particularly enjoys collecting stuffed animals, clowns, and drinking Coca-Cola. That is her beverage of choice if you're interested in connecting with Diane. There's also Marjorie Owen, who is 92. She loves to read loves to do crossword puzzles, and loves to eat Hershey bars. Who among us is not that person? Absolutely. She's a well-traveled lady, and she ventured around Europe when she was younger. So definitely lots to talk about and potentially lots to learn and lots of great stories from Marjorie Owen if you'd like to connect with her. Michael Preisler, who is 81, loves to shop and watch sports, including our Cleveland baseball team. Lots to talk about there as well. There is still 2/3 of the season left, so you could chat with Michael about that over a pen-pal relationship. And also John Packer, 92. He also loves to watch sports, eats soul food, and plays a mean game of checkers, so maybe he can give you some tips. If you're interested in checking that out, you can send a letter to the activities department, care of Montefiore. That address is 1 David North Myers Parkway. Again, that's 1 David North Myers Parkway in Beachwood, Ohio, 44122. And we also have that address on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app. That's it for your 3 News Now early update for Thursday, August 20th. I'll be back here at 3 p.m. with more top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app, as well as the latest updates from Governor Mike DeWine's press conference today and the latest numbers from the Ohio Department of Health, so we can take a look at how COVID-19 is happening here in the state of Ohio. I'll see you back here in just a little bit. I'm Stephanie Haney.